Good morning. It's Monday morning, and what a day it's been already. Well, what a start to the week. So it was a busy day on Friday. We're booked for Monday for 5 vans. By Saturday afternoon it was 6 vans, and the job that I was loaded, I ended up loading onto another driver so I could do a different job myself. So let's go over the day. So I just want to thank, first of all, the good drivers out there, because there's some good drivers and then there's some absolute muppets. And today we're having 6 vans on the road, me, myself, one of them, 5 subbies on the CX, 2 of them who you know. Obviously out of them we're going to get 1 Muppet, aren't we? And that's what we got. So let's start. We've got Jono, tall man, small van. He met me at the services on Friday. We loaded a pallet onto him. He got up to Scotland on Sunday night, stayed in a hotel and was on site first thing this morning, just like he should be. But he's still on site now because of the weather. The lads don't know what they're doing, they don't know if we're going to go ahead with the job, and he's fine with that. He's going to get waiting time. He's not moaning and mithering, he's waiting. Brilliant, thank you, Jono. We've got Andy P. Andy P came and collected from my house on Sunday and has gone down to Seven Oaks to do a delivery. He's gone over to South Auckland, done a site clearance, and he's on his way back. And that was all done before 9:15. And he's on his way back already. Me, I went over to Bridlington for a site clearance. The lads were a bit late and some of the gear was on the roof, but in total there's not very much of it, and I got to drive through a town called Wet Wang, and I had a little giggle about it because it's funny and I'm immature. Then we had a lad, a CX driver who lives in Colwyn, pick up from my unit on Friday and deliver to Colwyn this morning. Perfect, did exactly what I was told him to do, took pictures, perfect, thank you very much. I think his name was Keith. And then we had a driver pick up on Friday from Stockport, a Luton, absolutely rammed full of gear, for a 9 AM delivery in Anglesey this morning. He got there at 9, top job. Unfortunately the riggers were running late. I agreed the waiting time with him, he's waiting. He was a bit of moaning because he said he'd already got another job booked, but at the end of the day you don't overlap your jobs, you don't pre-book jobs because you don't know if you're going to have waiting time. That's just the way the world is. So he's agreed to wait. And then we've got the Muppet. So the Muppet, as I'm going to refer to him, I booked him Friday morning. So there was 2 collections. There was a collection from Paisley, a collection from Glasgow, and it was delivering to Motherwell on Monday morning. Now, 8 AM he should have been on site. And the first collection in Paisley needed doing before 11:30. At 1:30 the CX hadn't been updated, it just still said accepted on the job. So I phoned him. Oh, I've not got around to picking it up yet. I'll head over there now. So 2:30 he got loaded. After phoning me and telling me that could he pick up on Monday because he didn't realise there was going to be so many goods and he thinks they might get stolen off his van from outside his house. The answer to that was no, you can't pick up on Monday, I booked you to pick up today. Hopefully they don't get stolen, but that's what you have insurance for. So he picked up 3 hours late on Friday at the first collection. He was supposed to do the second collection straight after. Obviously he was 3 hours late for that one as well. And then he was supposed to be on site at 8 o'clock this morning. Jono was on the same site at 8 o'clock this morning. The Luton didn't arrive until 9:30. And within 30 seconds of being on site, he messaged me about waiting time. So this is someone who's been late to collection, late to delivery, hasn't been on the CX very long, and is already mithering me about waiting time. So I'm not in the best of moods for this guy. Let's put it that way. So yeah, he phoned me about 3 minutes after sending me that message to just remind me of his waiting time. So, oh God, fence panel there in the road. It has been a bit windy today. That was close. Whew. Anyway, yeah, he phoned me to remind me about his waiting time, which tipped me over the edge a little bit, and it may have been a bit rude. And I'm not really a rude person, or like, I don't really get angry at people very often anymore. I'm a lot more chilled than I used to be, but this guy rubbed me up the wrong way straight away. From Friday, he rubbed me up the wrong way. So I said, no problem, I will pay your waiting time, but we have a policy where late collections are charged per hour as well. Is that okay with you? Oh, he was not happy with that. So he started trying to convince me that his price that he gave me was too cheap for the job, and he was doing me a really good favour, and because he thought he'd get robbed if he kept the stuff in his van outside his house overnight, he paid for a storage unit over the weekend to store it in. You know, thank you for doing your job and stuff, but yeah, so this gentleman charged me for a 34-mile job. Yes, he had to keep it over the weekend in his van. £200. And after trying to convince me for a while that that was cheap, the phone call ended. About 5 minutes later, I was on the phone to John, talking about the site, seeing if anyone else had arrived yet. I wasn't getting any answers from the customer about what was going on. So I thought I'll speak to Jono. And I got a missed call off the driver, who's parked behind Jono. And the missed call, he left me a voicemail. So this was at 9:45. And the voicemail was, at 10 o'clock, I'm taking these goods back to my house and leaving them outside. I will phone the CX and make a complaint against you. Well, on what grounds, to be fair? But I thought, I'm not having another hostage situation like what happened in Newcastle. So I put my big boy pants on and I phoned him, and I apologised for being rude, which got him to agree to stay. It's not going to get him out of negative feedback for being late, but it got him to stay on site, where he still is now. And then I got into a bit of a conversation with him. So he's not been on the CX very long, a couple of months, and he's never done the courier job before, he's never been in the industry. So it got on to, I gave him a bit of advice. It got on to me asking him if he thought that 200 quid was a reasonable price for 34 miles. In which he answered, no, I was pushing my luck and I normally charge 100 quid for this. This is after he was trying to convince me that he was doing me a favour charging me that much. He definitely wasn't doing me no favours. He was pushing his luck, as he said. And it just happened that that day I was actually really struggling to find a driver, which leads me on to the next topic in a minute. So yeah, eventually I got him to agree to stay. The job is still being a bit of a pain. I eventually got on the customer that they actually forgot, well, the people they'd give it to do the rigging work had forgot to send riggers that day, so they were sending some of their own team over to take the delivery. It happens, some days are a ball ache. So 5 out of the 6 jobs, the drivers were alright. Obviously, me, I did a brilliant job as always. Jono and Andy, brilliant job as always. I'm pretty sure your name's Keith from Wales, brilliant job. never used you before, but I hope to meet you again. Muppet from Scotland, I'm gonna block you after this job. No offence, some offence. You're just not very good at your job. I hope you get better over time, but I hope you learn time management. It's not, yeah, you're not working for me again. No, yeah, no, definitely not. Which leads me onto my next topic. So obviously we've got the WhatsApp group, it's got about 100 drivers in it at the minute, maybe a little bit more, I can't remember. And the conversation is twat rates, let me put it that way. That's how it's said. And a lot of the drivers think that they're not getting the jobs because there's obviously a lot of drivers quoting cheap. I do not see cheap quotes. I have not paid cheap quotes in 2024 so far. Yes, we've been going a few weeks and it's January, which normally means there's a lot of drivers and not very much work. I seem to be getting very few bids and they're all very high prices. And they're not like jobs to the middle of nowhere where you're not going to get a return. Some of them haven't even been like massive distance jobs where you're not, like, you've got 200 miles dead home. Like, I've been getting like top tier quotes, like, and not even from like good drivers. Like, some of the lads on the WhatsApp group and stuff haven't been able to do because they're in the right place at the right time, or they're worried about not being able to get home and stuff like that, which I understand. But then I'm looking at the CX and putting these jobs up, and the quotes that are coming back, and I've heard it come from, like, it's the same for other people as well. I am not seeing low rates at all. To me, I think the only people who are probably seeing low rates are the big shippers. Your likes of Speedy Freight, Cargo to Go, stuff like that. Today Team, they post how much they want to pay anyway. They're probably getting the lower rates. The smaller companies, we're getting ripped off. Especially with that Glasgow job. But we're not seeing the lower rates at all. Like I said last year, I try and sub my jobs out, try and give a fair rate. I aim to make 10% to 20% of the job. At the minute, I've been barely making 10% of the job, just due to the fact that I'm having to pay drivers more money to do the same job they would have done last year for less money for some reason. So I'm not seeing them rates. I'm really not seeing them rates at all. So if you are a driver out there that is running at twat rates, hit me up, because I want to make some money. No, I'm only joking. I'd prefer to use the lads in the WhatsApp group and the lads that I use more regular, because I know the job's going to get done properly. And whenever I have used other drivers, there tends to always be an issue, always be something to moan about. And I'm not about that. Like, if a driver rocks up on site and they've got waiting time, there's waiting time, that's fine. If you're moaning about it after 3 minutes of being on site and saying you can only stay half an hour because you've got another job booked in, I'm not fine with you then. That's not on. Sometimes there's going to be waiting time. Whew, right, I've rambled on for long enough. If you've watched this far, thank you for watching. Please do like and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye bye.